It's Indianapolis Center. Do you have any test operations restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to descend at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack Maloney and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Well, what a show we have for you tonight. But first, let me introduce the members of the Poussée, as they say on the streets of Paris. Girls, get ready. Get your misters. Sit yourself down. Big box of Kleenex, extra big box of wipes, and a fan, a big fan, because he's here. An only fan. We'll get into that later. He's here. Very famous Juan.
Hello, Mac. Hello, girls. Woo, it's a hot one today, and when the girls are on listening to the show, it gets even hotter around here, I tell you that. It's tremendous. Thank you for listening.
Oh, wow.
And, Mac, thank you for having me on the show, by the way. Get a lot of good press. You know, get a lot of street cred here.
Can you tap dance for about 15 seconds so I can go get the sound effects machine?
Yeah. I mean, it's really sweet.
Tap dance. You're not tap dancing. We have to see your feet, Juan. Because if you're sitting down behind the desk, we have no idea what your feet are doing.
That's true. I'm just swinging. I'm swinging back and forth like a schoolgirl here. You know, the scene in some kind of kids movie where they're
sexist. See that? Yeah.
They're at the ice cream bar and they get their Bobby socks and blue jeans. What the heck movie was that?
Okay.
Okay.
What movie was Mickey Rooney a dancer in? Every freaking movie.
Yeah. Every movie. You said, hey, guy, let's get the kids together and we'll do a show.
So we can put on a show.
Yeah, put on a show in the bar with Over the Rainbow Girl. Right.
Yeah, Judy Garland.
Judy Garland.
Over the Rainbow.
Beverly Garland's sister.
You know, give Judy a couple pills, push her out on stage.
I think Chloe's been having pills. If you think it's Judy Garland, it's Beverly Garland.
Who did that biopic of Judy Garland? Was that Renee Zellweger? Who did that?
Beverly Garland fought the monster that conquered the world. Remember that?
Yeah.
The carrot-looking monster with a big mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She fought that. Mm-hmm. Who won?
So Lee Van Cleef was in it too.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Looking for a paycheck. Was that before or after Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
It must have been before, during when he was working the way up. I made a snowman when I was a kid that looked just like the monster that conquered the world. Other kids are out there making conventional snowmen with the 3 balls and the carrot nose. Not me. I was making evil-looking monsters in my front lawns.
What planet are they from?
I'm lost.
Uranus.
I thought he made a snowman that looked like Lee Van Cleef.
That's on the comeback. Wow.
That's where the Klingons come from.
Anyway, okay. All right. That's one joke too far. Bridge too far there, my friend.
I'll say.
All right, here we go. All right, so Juan, you're here. You tap dance very well. We'll have to put some music behind that. Everything okay with you?
Everything's fine, yeah.
AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah? How's the AC work in that sports car you drive around in?
It freezes you right out.
Does it,
Yeah. Yeah, my nipples get hard when this thing is on.
No, come on.
That was a joke too far.
Anyway,
2054.
So I want to see it tonight. Sorry, middle-aged ladies. Coco on assignment. He was going to be on, then he wasn't. At the last minute, he said he was going to be on, but then at the last second, he dropped out again.
Different flight plan, right?
Right, different flight plan. So, we got letters on this the last time I said this, but any gilfs out there might be happy to know that Switchblade Steve Ward is here, our national correspondent up there in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Well, I'm here to spread happiness, that's for sure. Great to be
here. Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah. All right, spreading happiness wherever he goes. Good. Also, now we go to the Beauty Among the Beasts, a very good witch up there in upstate New York. I don't know why I want to keep triangulating her, but I do. It's a very, very special friend, Raven. Raven, how are you tonight, Raven?
Raven.
I'm good, my friends. How are you?
Wow, look at that hairdo. Woofa. That looks like it's
Okay.
some Xena.
Keep it down, Matt.
Little
Keep it
Xena
down.
thing going on there.
It's like 200 degrees and I can't control the volume in myself.
Now listen,
Yeah.
it's always hot. Well, it's always hot where you.
I know, it's
When
always
you
at least
join us.
200 degrees.
It's always sweltering or something.
No AC.
No AC.
No, I have AC. I'm cheap.
Oh, okay. Wow. What side of the family did you get that from?
Who
Sorry.
do you think?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's being too cheap. You got to have AC in this situation.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen. I bought one of those little portable AC things from China. You put water in it and you plug it in, and it blows.
It makes tea.
It blows across the screen. Yeah. It's not bad. If you put it on for about an hour in a little room, it will cool the room down.
Really?
Yeah, but then you
About the
have to
size of
keep
a small
refilling the
speaker,
water
right?
tank. Yeah. It's about the size of a small speaker.
Yeah, I've seen those.
You better make sure you keep cleaning that thing out because it brings mold. It develops mold.
Oh,
Really? Yeah?
I bet.
So you read the instruction. You got to
The
clean
instructions
that
are
out.
the instructions are in Chinese, though. That's the problem.
Oh well.
I'd rather it be in
So,
Chinese
anyway.
than being translated to English. The translations are funny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yes. That voice you heard was not the voice of God. It was the voice of Security Chief Willy Clubb. Willie, how you doing tonight?
You know, Mac, I'm doing great. It's great to be here tonight, and I just have to remark on Switch tonight. That here tonight is spectacular.
It is.
The way
It
you've
is.
got that rug attached,
It's fabulous.
unbelievable. You know, some
Yeah.
weeks it's like backwards and sideways, but you've been working on it.
Listen,
I can tell.
I appreciate that. It's Amazon Prime. I got it in 2 days.
Really, yeah. So
really,
over the
Not an
holidays.
ad.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a little tilt to it, but tonight it seems like it's kind of leveled out. It's
Yo,
level,
it's-
you know,
it's on target, no doubt
it's on
about it.
target, right? Yeah.
It's dead balls accurately on his head. Look at.
Wow, switchy.
You,
How
you
this-
can't tell where the rug starts and the real hair.
And the real hair begins, right? Well, you can kind of, but you know, but that's okay.
Oh, come on.
So anyway, I don't know how we got to this point switch, but so now why don't we get this out of the way? Because we got a lot of letters. Got a lot of letters on your last. What did I have for breakfast? And that's when you went to Denny's and got the Fred Flintstone beefsteak.
Oh, yeah.
Right. What was it? Some kind of a fried beefsteak
Right?
with gravy
Yes.
and hash browns and
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, everything. Didn't you have a couple scrambled eggs in there too?
I think, well, it was steak and eggs, but
Steak
it
and
was
eggs.
fried
I thought-
beef
yeah.
steak and eggs.
Right. That's the Russian astronauts eat. U.S. astronauts eat steak and eggs before the night before the flight.
And
Is
tang
the-
during the flight.
And Tang, and they do drink Tang. You know, for a long time, people said no food.
Mystery meat.
I think veal's for you, right?
Veal.
No way.
Don't you remember
Not in my
Meatballs,
high school.
The movie?
Expensive.
Bill Murray makes the announcement over the loudspeaker that Jeffrey Corbin won the mystery meat contest. He was right. It was veal. No, he said, Jeffrey Corbin said, some kind of beef.
Some kind of
Some kind of
beef.
And
Right.
he won a Chrysler Cordoba, I think it was.
You talking about the movie or real life?
The movie.
Oh, okay. What movie was that again?
Meatballs. You know,
Okay.
Bill Murray at the camp.
Well, some of it. Bill Murray's not funny. So that's the problem.
Bill Murray is funny. This was his first movie.
He can be
really?
funny.
Yeah.
He's not funny. He was funny on Saturday Night Live when he would do like the lounge singer stuff.
Right. Star Wars. Nothing but Star
Yeah,
Wars.
He's funny, but he's not funny in movies. I'm sorry, he's not.
He was
Anyway,
in Meatballs, trust
And
me.
he's very, very difficult to work with.
I
like
always
Juan.
thought that.
Like Juan.
I like it when he's
okay.
doing a
So-
serious movie like
oh, come
Lost in
on.
Translation.
Broken Flowers or Lost
That-
in Translation.
Lost in
Lost in
Translation
Translation was a
with
good movie.
Scarlett
That was
Joe.
probably his,
Whew.
that's probably his best movie.
But what
Best
about
movie.
Ghostbusters?
Come on.
I didn't like those.
No.
I love Ghostbusters. Yeah, I love every Bill.
What-
oh my
what
God.
grade were you in?
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack is
is a mess.
amazing.
Oh, Caddyshack.
No, it isn't.
That's
It's
right.
a terrible movie.
Oh,
Stripes.
no.
Let me tell you why.
What
Let me
about
tell you why.
Bob?
What about Bob? You know that those two guys, they almost murdered each other on the
Yeah,
set, him and Dreyfus?
they hated each other.
And let me tell you about Caddyshack, okay? Caddyshack, when they first made Caddyshack, Bill Murray wasn't in it. And they screened it for audiences and no one laughed. So they had to get Bill Murray. He was like filming another movie or something. They had to jump through all these hoops. They bring him in, and you'll notice if you watch the movie again, a lot of his scenes it's just him, I guess, in the Gopher, whatever the hell he's going after. Okay. They cut those in. And then the ones where where he's actually with other people, I guess they had to bring everyone back or whatever. And then also at the end of that movie, I've never seen it, but I don't have to. There's a big at the end. Someone sinks a putt and they all go crazy.
But the water. He's trying to get the gopher out with the water, and the water starts shooting out the holes.
I know, but at the very end, very end, doesn't someone sink a putt and win $20,000 or something, and everyone goes nuts?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you read the script, though, that wouldn't have won the match. That would have tied the match. He didn't win the match. He just tied it.
It's for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, I know, but the lousiest movie has to have continuity. It has to.
You missed one thing, Mac. The gopher had to come back and do all his scenes again.
Oh, man.
Okay. All right, I guess
when I watch the credits, I always watch to see who's the continuity person, because you're right. Continuity is important.
Right. It's in the crummiest movie. Yeah. You have to have it, or the whole thing doesn't work on any.
You know what I like about continuity? Like if you're in a room and there's a clock on the wall, and the clock never changes time.
Ronnie Dangerfield.
He wasn't. Yeah,
the scene lasts about 10 minutes, but the clock never changes time.
I'll bet you were something before electricity. That was good.
Yeah, he probably wrote his own lines. He was just like a naturally funny guy.
He can say just about anything, and it'd be funny.
Yeah. I went into a hotel and I said to the bellboy, "Hey, will you handle my bags?" He started filling up my wife. He goes, "Hey, who said you?" I said, "Hey, who said you could do that?" He said, "Everybody."
Oh my God.
All right, here's the worst one. Ready? We might have to cut this out.
All right.
Yeah, when I was growing up, my girlfriend, she was ugly. Man, was she ugly. When I brought her home to meet my mother put papers down.
Oh my God.
I brought her to the beach and the guy said, "Hey, what kind of bait you use?" Okay, that's it. All right, anyway. So switch.
There was a joke like that in a Bo Diddley song. It says, Your wife's so ugly, she had to sneak up on a glass to get a drink of water.
Oh.
That was in a Bo Diddley song.
The one I like is that your face or your pants fall down?
Oh, that's cruel. Here's the Methuen coming out in him.
I don't know any.
I love
the
Methuen.
Everett coming out in him, I should say. Anyway.
Raven, if you come down here again, you got to go to Methuen.
I don't think I can. They'll see me and they'll be like, "You're too ghetto. Like, get out. What are you doing here?"
No, it depends on what part you go to. Don't worry, we'll drive through real fast. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, now that we're all hungry, Switchy, the biggest skew of the show. Everyone wants to know, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
This morning, now, full disclosure, it was a little bit closer to a brunch than a breakfast, but it still works. Okay.
Sure.
I went to Denny's Diner.
Again?
Vanessa waited on me. I got 2 eggs over easy.
Yes.
White toast.
Yes.
2 sausage, 2 bacon.
Oh.
Bacon and sausage.
Coffee,
Okay, good.
Orange juice and water.
Water? What'd you get the water for?
Oh.
Well, you kind of lay down a water base before you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. You got to have the water. I have water all the time.
Yeah, they do say
Michelle,
that to have the water first.
And Michelle came by later to see if I needed more coffee.
Oh, wow. Maybe she's into you.
Wait, do you normally like not get refills on your coffee?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just name dropping.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? Yeah. They give you 1 cup of coffee? That's
no. They take good care of me there.
Okay. I was about to call the police.
Discount.
Have you told them you're on a radio show?
No, I don't want to lose my military discount.
Oh, why? Well, what's the connection? That's the first thing one says when we enter a new place. Yes or no, JJ?
That's right. Senior citizen discount or military discount or both?
No,
anyway,
I just get 1 discount.
I like the fact that he got 2 sausages and then bacon.
Yeah,
sausage and
2
bacon.
sausage, 2 bacon, right.
2 bacons.
But I could have gotten 4 of one or the other.
Yes.
I like to mix it up.
Yeah. Be crazy. Go nuts,
Like
man.
variety.
That's me. My middle name is Go Crazy.
Huh. Is it really? Yeah.
Delicious.
Is that Scotch?
Now I'm hungry.
So anyway, okay. So just review. Let's review. You got 2 eggs over easy.
2 eggs over easy, right?
Bacon, sausage.
White toast.
The bacon and the sausage might be from the same pig. You don't know. white toast, coffee, black coffee, orange juice, and water.
Right.
Wow. Okay. How much was that? $2.75.
Probably around $12.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you tip Vanessa?
Are you kidding? Of course I
Okay.
did.
How much you tip?
I have to ask.
How much
you tip?
Yeah.
$5.
$5 on $12.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Good man.
I
Good
always go
man.
over 20%.
Yes.
Oh. I'm sorry, and JJ will be my witness.
I'm a
You
50%er.
You have to tip waitresses 40%.
Yeah.
That is
$5
true,
is
but
pretty good.
$5 is good on a $12
$5 is
bill.
okay. Yeah. But for them to remember you, for Vanessa to remember you, Switch, and not the little squirrel on your head.
She remembers me when I come in. She says hi. You know, go ahead and sit where you want. You know, and
they let us sit where you want.
Wow, they don't
Holy
even
shit.
like take you to your table. Oh my!
Well,
are you an
sometimes-
A-list celebrity?
Sometimes they
there?
point, but you know,
Hey, you're killing them.
You should be VIP.
Yeah.
I am.
You're not kidding.
Hey,
We'll make a call. We'll make a few calls.
Here's how I do it
don't
at
wanna
Farmer's
overwhelm
Kitchen.
them by saying, by the way, I'm on a big shot radio show. You know,
Oh,
'Cause I want them to treat me like a regular person.
Well, they're not doing that good of a job there, dude. Throw $10 down next time and put like a business card, beside
I
it.
have tipped higher. I mean, especially during certain situations.
Okay, wow, he's getting a little defensive about the tips. Okay, I'm just saying,
I don't need to take this crap. Right, Club?
Well, I never go
Where's
to
the
the
security
same
guy when I
place.
need him?
I never go to the same place the second time, so I don't have to worry about tipping much.
He is from Boston. Okay, that's great. So anyway,
When I go to Farmer's Kitchen, I pick out whoever's working, and I have a couple of my close friends, waitresses, and I say, okay, which table or counter are you working? And she'll point. I say, okay, I'll go there. And
he sends me pictures from this place, and I feel like the Vice Squad is going to be knocking on my door 10 minutes later. Anyway,
I took some shots. They're all
tonight.
dressed up in Independence Day outfits.
Oh, Independence Day bikinis.
I can show you one right now.
Oh, we're on the radio. Okay, look. While he's doing that, we have what they call in the business a bit. Okay, I made the mistake 2 or 3 weeks ago of saying to listeners, hey, if you ever come up with an idea for a segment you want to hear on the show, let us know. Well, I said it once, and now I'm going through all kinds of suggestions on different segments that the listeners would like us to do on the air, okay? One of them we might be doing very soon, Juan, right? Is
Really?
it going to be the Juan Players doing a selection from Downtown Abbey?
The Juan Players Theater. Yep.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We don't
there's
want-
one.
we don't want to
do you know
tease
who
it yet.
sent
I'm
that
putting it together.
suggestion in?
Probably Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But it turns out we have a list of other suggestions that our listeners have written us about suggesting segments we should do on the show. Do you have the list there, Raven?
I have it right here.
Okay,
Are you
so
guys ready?
let's start the music. This is the top 10 listener suggestions for segments on the show. Number 10,
We have Cooking with Coco.
Cooking with Coco. Look at it, writes itself, right?
It does.
I'd watch that.
I would too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he specializes in ham dishes, as it turns out.
No, he does
Yes, he
not.
You wait till that pig of his gets over 40 or 50 pounds
No.
and Easter's rolling around. Come on. Anyway, okay, number 9. This is suggestions that listeners have made for segments we should do on the show.
Number 9, we have Be the Breakfast with Switch.
Be the breakfast. Be the breakfast with Switch.
Be the breakfast.
Hello, is this on?
I mean, be
I like
be
that.
with him for breakfast.
All right.
I like that.
Eat the breakfast?
Be the
Be
it's
the
kind of a Zen
breakfast.
thing.
Yeah, so it's like you're meditating and you're like, I am the breakfast.
Right.
Switch is going to consume
I am
me.
ham and eggs.
Yes.
Okay.
We should have called it I'm the sausage. Be the sausage. All right, anyway.
That's too
go.
risque,
Please, next
sorry.
one, please. Suggestions of bits we should do on the show. Segments we should do on the show.
Number 8, Talking Shop with Vic the Wop.
Talking shop. Okay.
Oh,
I like that one.
loves an
Vic the Wop,
alliteration.
the friend Star Trek expert. He is on, we're going to talk about Cameo and OnlyFans in a little while, but someone has suggested that Juan should join this thing called Cameo. And what it is that all these kind of stars and celebrities of all kind of like different levels, I guess they will record a video greeting for you for like $100 or something. But it depends on what kind of star you are. You know, I mean, I'm surprised some of the stars that are on there. Some of them start at $400, and like Ed Begley Jr. will wish you a happy birthday for $400 for 15 seconds. Right now, does he need $400? Unless you do.
Is he still alive?
I mean, I doubt it, but maybe he gives it to charity.
Yeah, right. Maybe.
I would pay any amount for Bill Murray to say literally anything to me.
Really?
He can tell me that I'm ugly, and I would pay him.
Wow.
I'd be fine with that.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, a little peek
that's
into
affection
Raven's
right there.
Okay,
Wow.
why don't we go on? These top 10 listener suggestions of segments we should do on the show.
We are on number 7. Sorry. My bun is your bun. The Raven Hour.
Yeah, right. An hour with Raven. My bun is your bun.
Oh, God. I can't fill an hour.
Have to sweeten this up. Okay, next, please.
Number 6, clubbing with Clubb.
Clubbing with Clubb. Now, listen, I like this one because all we have to do is we made a joke about a couple weeks ago. Clubb, you dress up in your Whitey Bulger outfit, and we'll just hit everywhere. We won't have to pay any cover charge. You know, they'll probably comp us the bill.
Yeah, that's
I do that now, and it works pretty good.
Okay, well, take your brothers out with you, will you, please?
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll film it. It'll be fun.
Clubbing with Clubb. Next, please.
We have jerking with Jocko. How to make beef jerky, New York. Wait, New York style. Oh my God.
Jerking with Jocko. How to make beef jerky New York style. Is that right?
That's a good one.
Is there New York style beef jerky? Is that
probably.
like a thing?
No, only this now. I don't know. I just had to come up with something because we had jerking with Jocko. Anyway, next, please. Raven.
Number 4, the anger issues hour with Agent X. I would love to listen to that.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say the unresolved anger issues, but it's too long of a title. Next, please, Raven. These are suggestions from our listeners on segments we should do on the show.
Number 3, how to score in the 3rd grade with the black-eyed kid.
Oh, wow.
They're so scary.
Okay, all right. We're going to sweeten this up. It's going to cost a fortune. Okay, where are we?
2. Number 2. We have waiting for a real Superman with Lois Lane.
Oh, see, that hurts. That's going to leave a mark. Wow. Okay. And the number 1 suggestion from listeners of segments we should do on the show.
Wan's Military X-Files.
Yes, he wants to take over.
What?
Hey, listen, I sat there for about a half hour saying, what nasty thing could he, because we have to finish it on his, name, of course. Going through the suggestions. And I couldn't think of anything that we could say on the air that could, it was going to be like, living
that would fit my
living
brand.
A shameful life, or shame-free life, or something.
Dining out with Wan.
Dining out with Wan, or something like, they gave me 2 names. What are you going to do about it? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like Wan's Rolling Stone beach towel. Where are we now? And then just do random photos of you and your beach towel.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Sort of like a Where's Waldo kind of thing.
Have you seen his beach towel?
I can imagine it has a tongue sticking out that's like that.
Oh, we are a radio show.
It's a huge beach towel.
Wow, I always forget that.
Reva TV. You just missed a good spot.
It's huge.
Anyway, okay, there you go.
I like it.
So go ahead, please. Wan, say something in your defense.
What? You mean,
well said. So listen.
In my defense of my beach towel?
Well, you do have, but you have. Don't you have a Rolling Stones beach towel?
I do. It's
you go to the beach with
it's
it?
hanging up in my room, and I've yet to take it to the beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you taken it to the dry cleaners yet?
I've washed it a few times. And it's actually so big it becomes a throw cover on my love seat. My love seat in my room. I have a love seat in my room. Yeah, it's big. Yeah. It's big, but it's thin.
It's a small love seat.
It's kind of thin. It's just okay, for a towel.
Do you and Mrs. Wan ever sit in the love seat together with sitting on the Stones towel?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is the
So
kind
the
of
Exile on Main
OnlyFans
Street.
That
stuff
particular
you
love
think
seat is
of.
old, and it's not that comfortable anymore.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it's up in my room. I'm okay with it. I crash on it sometimes, and
Okay.
you know, I do the show sometimes from that room, and then when I'm done, I go. I
Hey,
crash.
should we start
on
the show all over? What do you say? Want to take a vote? Want to take a vote? Should we start all over?
No, this is fun.
Yeah, what the hell?
This is fun. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a commercial break at
All
least
right.
now?
If you
And
insist.
we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed: the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Ong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous 1-1. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you. Tonight, we're teasing the topic of angels and ghosts in wartime. Angels and ghosts in wartime. We've found a bunch of stories that are about either people seeing either angels or ghosts, or a little bit of both in wartime. We're going to be talking about that. And a bunch of other things. But let me introduce the gang. Okay, girls, he's here, the very famous Juan.
Hello, Mac. Hello, girls. Welcome to the show. Glad you're with us. Glad all my fans are out there, too. I love it when you have fans.
Yes. We have to come back and talk to you about that, what one fan wrote you just lately. Let me just introduce everyone else, okay? No Coco tonight. Coco is out there defending our nation. But his fan base might be interested to know that Switchblade Steve Ward is here.
And happy to be here.
Hello, Switchy.
And
Hey,
he's another Denny's breakfast into the day. Also, our favorite good witch, Raven, is here. Raven, how are you doing tonight?
Hello, my friends. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
You look fantastic,
Spectacular
Raven.
hair tonight.
Look at
Spectacular hair.
So
Okay.
humid. I can't.
But it looks good. It's like I'm saying like a Xena warrior or something like that. Something in the
I'll
Xena.
take it.
Look at
I'll
her
take it. I
eyebrows.
love
Yeah.
Xena.
Who does your eyebrows? You
Yeah.
do your eyebrows?
I did. I don't have any eyebrows. I drew these on one go. I didn't
Really?
have to do any editing.
Wait a minute.
Literally one go
Wow,
today.
this is
Normally
fantastic.
it's like I start, I wipe them off, and then I restart like 6 times. One
Wow.
go.
One go.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first take.
So one go, just drawing them in. Is that the angle?
Yeah.
Save time? Yeah. All right. Okay, cool.
Well, ask Clubb about his eyebrows.
Okay. Also joining us is head of security, Willy Clubb.
Hi, Mac.
Club, how you
Hi,
doing?
folks. You know, I feel a little hesitancy to respond to that guy with the rug on his head
Oop.
when he talks about my
Richie.
eyebrows, but that's okay. You know, I can take it.
What's the matter with his eyebrows?
Well, he's saying he's trying to allude, you know, that I don't really have any eyebrows, and you know, I think it's
I wasn't. Wait a minute. You're
Holy
filling
cow.
in all kinds of gaps. I wasn't trying to allude to anything.
well,
I
think-
You did pick up
I
on
could
it.
read it.
Attacks one's hairline. all hair is up for grabs.
Oh,
No, I was just telling
that sound filthy?
giving facts. I wasn't attacking you.
Okay.
I think your hairline, like I said, tonight it's maybe I don't know what a good word is, marvelous or
Marvelous
whatever,
is a
but
good
it's,
word. Yes,
yeah.
right. Yeah.
You know,
If it was 10 years ago, we could say it's fierce. But now it's only marvelous.
Oh, Fierce isn't in anymore?
Not anymore, no.
Oof.
passe.
Anyway. Say. Anyway, so we're all here. And we're going to be talking off and on tonight about angels and ghosts in wartime. But let me just, first of all, I just want to go to the email that JJ got. And then we'll go to Raven's story that she had a weird experience in her house today. But we get a letter from a fan who said, love the show, blah, blah, blah. He says, when is Juan going to join Cameo and how much will it cost? And I had no idea what Cameo was. Of course, I Googled Cameo porn sites and came up with like tons of them. I thought it was like, they're doing amateur actors or something. But finally I got out of the smut department, and it turns out that Cameo, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and I guess there's a few of them, where people who are kind of stars, I mean, you recognize some of them, will send you like a video, happy birthday video greeting, 15 seconds for like $300, $400, depending on, what kind of star you are. Like I'm amazed. Ed Begley Jr., for instance, you can have him, wish your mother happy birthday for, $300 or something. And Victor Wap is there. Victor Wap, as it turns out, you can get him for $50. You know what?
That's reasonable.
I'm sure you got to start somewhere, right? So anyway, so it turns out that we could probably qualify to be on this thing one because there are people on there that you have no idea who they are. Right. We're hitting 60,000 download very soon, so people know who you are. So what do you say? You want to do some cheesecake or something?
You haven't been the first person to ask me to do that, and I think I would like to take you up on that if I'm in the right frame of mind. A couple of beers, maybe some Irishman whiskey, and then I'm ready to go.
Expensive already.
Raven's going to be the director.
Okay,
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I don't care. Listen, send me a 6-pack of Blue Moon.
Okay.
We'll call it even.
That's all.
Blue Moon.
Make sure you pay taxes on it, though. They'll arrest you.
Yeah.
Now look at. All right, Juan. All right. So I'm going to give them back. I'm going to say a soft yes to the fan. Okay.
Yeah.
How's that? You're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be neat and tidy, sweet and sexy.
You're going to wear clothes, or you're going to? Yeah.
Oh man.
Really?
I hate clothes. No, I'm not going to wear any clothes.
Oh,
no, I'm going to go.
Why don't you wear that Speedo you have when you wear it in the studio?
I might have to wear a bra. Sheesh. My upper body doesn't look that great.
A man's ear.
A man's ear.
Right, for his boobs. His boobs. Yeah. How do we get down this road? Where do we go?
Or at least a training bra.
Okay, so he's thinking about it. That's something.
Yeah.
Thinking about appearing on Cameo, starting at $50, let's say, right?
Yeah.
$50 to say, hello, Grandma, I love you. Happy birthday. Right. Can you do that?
So it doesn't have to be a videogram. It's just going to be audio, right?
No, these are video.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So draw your eyebrows on.
Draw your eyebrows
Wear
on.
something sexy and say, hey, Beverly, whoever.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Yeah. Happy 80th.
Yeah.
Happy 80th birthday.
You're my best friend, Beverly. You're doing great.
Hey.
Yeah, I like it.
Hey, sweetheart.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
You're
I
the
think
best.
we should do. I think
Happy
we should do it
birthday.
and see how many people. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. There was 5 minutes of fun. So listen, Raven, let's just go to you because you sent me an email earlier today. You said you had a weird occurrence in your house the other day. We love weird occurrences. What happened?
Yeah. So as most of you know, my black lab passed away at the beginning of June. And so that's been, we're just going through everything and missing her like crazy.
Sure.
So we're doing good. And it's Sunday. It's beautiful out. We let our other dog outside. He's a beagle. His name is Scotch. He's amazing. He's a Gemini. And so we have him out in the backyard. And we were just like watching TV. And so like the way my house is set up, like the front door, you walk in and it's the living room. And then the back of the house is like kitchen and then the backyard. So we're at a distance that's the farthest away from myself and my dog as you can be, basically.
Yep.
We're watching TV, everything's fine, and all of a sudden I hear what sounds like a dog like shaking themselves off, and you hear their jingling of their collar.
Yeah.
And so I look at my husband and I said, I thought that you let Scotch outside. And he's like, he is outside. And I'm like, you didn't just hear that? And so I'm like 100% like, no, like there's a dog in this house. It sounded like it was 6 feet away from me. It was so close. And it sounded like they were just like, itching their ear, whatever. And you could hear their little jingling of the collar.
Right. Doing dog things.
Yeah. And I was so sure of it. I like got up thinking that I was going to see Scotch right next to where my husband was sitting, which was like, like I said, 5-6 feet away from me.
Okay.
No one there. Wow. And I'm like, no. And so I go out back, I get Scotch, I bring him in, and I'm like, that was so crazy. And like, my husband's like looking at me like I'm insane. And I'm like, I just heard a dog in here. And I'm like, I know I sound like I'm just losing my mind, but I said, I feel like that was Luxio. That was my lab.
Yeah.
And maybe she's still here. Maybe she's, watching us. Maybe she's hanging out with us.
Of course
still.
she is.
Yeah. Because like we miss her terribly, of course.
That'd be nice.
And she misses you.
And it was just the weirdest thing that it was so clear as day, vivid. Right. I can't even explain it any other way. And that's the only explanation I can come up with was that was Luxio, and she was in like right next to the spot that she always used to sit in, because what she liked to do was she would rub her whole head against our sofa, and that was the spot I heard it from.
I do that. Yeah. Wow.
But it was so bizarre, and it's like it just makes me feel like she's still here, she's still watching us, she's still with us.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel really good.
And this was right out of the blue, right?
Afterlife.
Totally out of the blue. Yeah. This was, normal day.
Yeah, it has to be for every living creature. I don't think it's just for humans. You know what this reminds me of? Switch. Remember, Em told a story once. She used to, and Emily Minimai used to join us a couple of years ago, and she told the story about, and it's kind of like that same kind of thing where she was working and she had to like come home in the afternoon or something and get into some kind of attire to to go to some kind of thing later that night. She was in her house kind of getting ready. She heard her mother come in and, once again, doing like the mother things, hear the door slam, hang up her keys, walk into the kitchen, like take the trash out and stuff like that. She's like walking, yelling down, "Hey, Mom, I'm just getting ready for the dinner tonight." And she's like having a conversation with her. And she went down and her mother wasn't there. And she immediately called her mother. Her mother was still at her office.
Yeah.
Oh, I got chills.
So it's almost like, I don't know what it is. It's almost like, something's happening in another place and you just happen to hear it or see it or, you know what I mean? But it's always something familiar. Always something very, very familiar,
We had to put down one of our cats. He was Doc, and he was the coolest cat ever. And then after that, Sarah, my wife, was a little more sensitive than I am, certainly. And she would see him, like just out of the corner of her eye, like jumping off tables onto the floor or whatever, every once in a while, for a period of time after he was gone. He was so cool that one time she had a migraine. She was laying in bed, and he came up and was like massaging her temple. He was just pushing his little paw right where he must have sensed the heat or whatever coming off it.
Yeah. Oh, I bet,
And he was just so how they all have personalities, but he was just so cool.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the creepiest stories are about, and I can remember my aunt and uncle telling me this years ago. They had this, an Irish retriever, right? Is that what they call them? Irish setter. Irish setter. And, just had this dog forever. And, he'd sleep on the floor in their bedroom. They were a retired couple. And, he was just like a peaceful kind of hang loose dog. But they said one night he got up in the middle of the night and he starts barking like crazy. And he runs in the kitchen. And we talked about this before. And it's almost like he has someone cornered in the corner, barking like crazy. And this is a very, very kind of mild-mannered dog. And like as if someone was there, And that, so it's almost like cats and dogs. They can see stuff we can't. Sometimes they say kids can see stuff we can't. Yep. It's like that it's creepy.
Absolutely. And I feel 100% like Scotch he'll be laying on the couch, minding his own business. Sometimes he's completely asleep. And then out of nowhere, he wakes up and he's just staring at nothing. Really, I can't see it.
Yeah.
And his ears are up and he's not mad or anything, which is why, like, I think whatever's here is incredibly peaceful. Oh, that's good. He's not growling, but it's crazy how and like my niece one time was playing in her house and with her toys, And all of a sudden, my sister called me as soon as she heard this. She hears my niece say, "Hi, Grandma," and then just continues to play. She didn't have a living grandparent.
Oh, wow.
So there was literally no reason that would happen. You know what I mean? So it was so creepy. And I'm like, ew, kids are so gross. I don't want them.
Yeah. I saw a thing on YouTube, not to get real nuts with this, but it was like 10 creepy things that people have heard kids say. And it's stuff like that. They'll know details about a grandparent who, had passed on years before they were born and stuff. And just very, very kind of creepy, So, wow. Anyway, there's also a thing called a fetch, which it's not quite the same thing. Like, for instance, in like medieval England, for some reason, they had a lot of them. Like, there would be, they would see a strange girl. Like, there's a story where the strange girl came to a schoolhouse one day, and she wasn't a student, but she thought she was supposed to be there. It was like, she thought she was supposed to be there. They didn't know who she was. And so they were kind of, the teacher had was sitting down and asking her questions and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden the kids look at the window and there's the same kid looking in the window. Same duplicate kid. Yeah. And they call it it happens a lot, and they call it a fetch.
A fetch.
For some reason. Yeah. So.
That sounds almost like you're preying on people, like fetch. Like, I'm going to see if this bait.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, it's almost not. It's like what's the word I'm looking for? Evil?
Fetch. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
I know. That to me, anything having to do with, like kids can be creepy, but also that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
like
because they're vulnerable, so they're not going to know.
Yeah. We have to get the black-eyed kid on.
No, we don't. Just kidding.
Let's do an hour with him. I just want to tell you this one story that I read today that really kind of blew my mind a little bit because it's so kind of simplistic. And this is reports from these Marines in Afghanistan. This is actually in 2017. Now, these guys are out in the middle of, Afghanistan, okay? And there's no one around. They have this kind of little outpost. And they're always looking for, people who are going to attack them or whatever. So, night falls, and one of the people on guard duty spots someone standing up in this, they call them berms in that part of the world, but it's kind of like a high, not such a high hill, almost like the top of a sand dune type of thing, only about like 150 feet away from them. So it's kind of close, half a football field. And the person was just standing there with their back to them. Now, this is odd, with their back to the soldiers. Now, in Afghanistan, you don't do this. You know what I mean? They'll shoot you. If they'll assume you're an enemy, any kind of war zone, but you don't do this. So anyway, they're calling to this guy. They're calling, what are you doing? Who are you? Whatever. And they don't move. They don't say anything. And so they have to call back to headquarters. Hey, we have this thing. What do we do? Is it hostile? What are we going to do? And they said, just, observe, don't do anything. So this person stood there for 3 hours with their back to these soldiers, and the soldiers trying to, talk to it and so on and so forth. So finally someone gets what are night vision goggles, which are basically infrared goggles that you can see at night. You can see heat at night, and it did not show up on the night vision goggles. Okay. And, there's reports, the guy wrote a report about it and, it's documented and stuff like that. And then it just it wasn't there anymore. Now, the weird thing is that's weird enough, but the weird thing is that like 2 or 3 months later, someone and other soldiers in another part of the country talked about one night where there were two figures, kind of standing near their camp with their backs turned to them and did not show up on night vision goggles, so they say. So, stuff like that. It isn't like some kind of crazy creature or anything like that. It's just that kind of, creepiness, of like someone is there. You don't know what they are. They don't care.
You got to throw out the whole person.
Yeah, really.
No, no thanks.
Yeah, angels.
Oh, that's creepy. That's so creepy. Oh,
listen, we're talking too about the British radio. We've talked about this before. This is kind of like a haunted radio in England, right, Raven?
Yep. This is weird. It is. I'm sorry. No, Russia.
Okay.
It is. Apparently, it just kind of plays. Just kind of white noise static. And every so often you hear like words and kind of like disembodied. I guess I don't even know if words is like the right way to put it, but it's just really mysterious and creepy, and nobody claims to run it. It's just.
Can't you unplug it?
24/7, 365. It's always going.
Yeah. That's sometimes they call those not ghost radios or something. Sometimes you hear like almost like Morse code on them. Sometimes you hear people saying stuff, and they're Russian based, and a lot of them are Cuban based too. You know, giving phrases that are like code words or stuff like that. I'm thinking pirate stations or something. But
right, private radio stations.
Yeah. And spies have been known, to use them. But then in other cases, people say, well, why would they be doing this, certain things and certain, breaking certain kind of spy protocols and stuff? It's really kind of strange.
I used to subscribe to a radio magazine that would list, people would listen for those things. And they'd say, and sometimes they would call themselves, some kind of a ghost radio station, and they'd play rock music or whatever, somewhere just goofing around.
Right,
But also, if you have like a CB radio, if you the frequencies above the CB and below they call them uppers and lowers, and people would get special units where they doctor them where they could talk on those, and I'm not supposed to. If you go to like the 1 to 40 channels on the CB, and then you go up to the uppers for a ways. If you keep going up, you'll hit the 10-meter band legitimate ham radio that you have to be licensed for. But you can monitor those on a shortwave radio. And I used to monitor those, and once in a blue moon, well, sometimes you'd hear people, doing skip, like they can because of the atmospheric conditions.
Right.
And they were doing a lot of stuff like ham radio people would do, but it was illegal. Once in a while, you'd hear somebody that was apparently, they're usually used for like government connections for whatever.
Sure.
And sometimes very mundane stuff. But so once in a while, you'd hear somebody radio back and forth where you could tell it was some kind of a legitimate government thing. It was a lot of fun.
A spy to spy kind of language. Wasn't there a movie about that? What was the movie that was out there that?
There's a guy. He's stuck in a radio station during the war with some chick, and the Nazis the Russians try to come in and get him or something.
Right.
Ghost radio. That doesn't sound right, but. Yeah, those things are up there. That's kind of strange, but I wonder if the modern age is, kind of make those things obsolete. Using a radio, Morse code and stuff is weird.
I think it was a thrill for some people to have a pirate radio station. Sometimes they were offshore; they would be in a boat, but they used to be very temporary. I haven't read up on them for a long time, but like I say, they would monitor them and document them and say what name they were calling themselves. And sometimes they'd be talking political stuff. Sometimes it would be playing rock music, and usually it wasn't terribly serious. They were just goofing around like we did this and we didn't get caught.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
what about a radio that was broadcasting like a news report or the President Roosevelt or something, some kind of broadcast that occurred 40, 50 years ago, maybe even longer, and it's all of a sudden it's playing like it just happened on a radio that's not even plugged in, or some crazy thing like that. Yeah,
that's a place. That's a radio in England where they still hear like Winston Churchill giving speeches in Parliament and stuff. And, they've unplugged it. They've taken the tubes out. It's at an Air Force base, a Royal Air Force base somewhere. No one can figure it out. But now I'm thinking, it's happened. It's been happening for a long time. But I'm thinking these days you could probably punk something like that. But,
like these days I feel like that'd be easy, but. I mean, even 20 years ago,
right? Yeah.
I mean, was like hacking.
Yeah, you could fake that out.
That wouldn't have been easy, right?
You see a lot of England has a lot of this stuff, and what you see a lot in England is what they call ghost flights, and there's been people who have seen like Spitfires and Hurricanes and everything flying over these old airfields in London, because the airfields during World War II they were literally just fields. They weren't even airports, and people still see, they hear them, they see them. It's like they can't. It's like they're someplace else, like like your dog or something, and all of a sudden, something happens, and they're here for a little while and then gone.
Ghost planes,
enough for them to see them.
I wonder.
Ghost planes,
almost, yeah. Like it's almost like they exist on a plane of reality that like the living can't can't see and doesn't get,
right.
and maybe that's why dogs and kids can, because they're not as jaded as adults are.
Yep.
And maybe it just makes sense to them. And seeing ghost planes on an airfield, that must be normal because we're not in a state where we're going to imagine things. You know, we're not going to see a ghost dog run by. Right. But it's crazy. Like I always wonder that, like, if it's just like literally just like, we're existing on plane A, but there's this whole other world happening on plane B.
Right.
That's what
a parallel universe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They proved that. They proved it in physics that there are the multiverse where there's so many universes they're impossible to count, and there are literally like there's a universe somewhere that is exactly like the world we live in now, except there's one extra grain of sand on a beach somewhere.
Right.
Okay. I mean that's how thin they slice these things, and maybe sometimes they just kind of touch or overlap or something.
Yes, that's like it just kind of slips through that veil, and it's to us, angel is the only, and I'm good with that because that's obvious. That's a very comforting thing to know that somebody's looking at you, somebody's watching you. Mm-hmm. It's comforting. It's freaky when kids and animals space out. No thanks. But I got to throw it to Clubb. You've told the story before, but you got to tell that story about the kid when you're watching the war movie.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you want to call it reincarnation or whatever, but, here's a situation, growing up, we had a next door neighbor, a good friend of mine, and he had a younger brother. And we had a situation one time, we're probably, 10, 12 years old, and his younger brother was probably about 5 or 6 tops. And we had one instance one day where they were over my house. It was after school. It was a rainy day. Normally we'd be out playing ball, but because of the weather, I had them in my house. I happen to have a TV. There weren't a lot of televisions in our neighborhood at the time, and they never had a TV. Their family was pretty strict. So anyways, we were there one afternoon. My mother was at work, and in those days, they used to play a lot of movies on one of the 3 major channels, and one was always seemed to be war movies.
Channel 4.
Yeah, I guess it was because there was only 2 at that time. In fact,
the afternoon movie or something. And
we had the movie on, and we were just fooling around, not doing much. But his brother was watching the TV. He was fascinated with it because, like I say, they never had a television. So they always enjoyed coming over to our house to watch TV, no matter what was on.
Right.
And he just sat there, and we're goofing off. And all of a sudden, he started screaming and pointing at the screen. There was a combat scene going on where the American Army, I don't know if it was back to Bataan or one of them, and he got shot, one of the soldiers in. My friend's little brother started yelling and screaming, and he was pointing to his arm, and he had like a birthmark or something on his arm. That's me, I shot, and he was screaming. Wow. And he was actually correcting the TV thing. He said, no, not like that or something. But he really went, berserk in a way. And so finally, we had to calm him down. So I went out in the kitchen, and we got a couple of devil dogs or something and shut the TV off. And that sort of calmed him down. But he was talking about that he got shot, and he was pointing to this mark he has in his arm. And so anyways, we forgot all about it. And a couple of days later, he was outside, the little brother, and what you do when you're a kid, you tease other people. So I teased him. I kept pointing my finger at him. Bang, bang, bang. I'm going to shoot you. And he went nuts again. Mm-hmm. He ran in the house. Oh. His mother came running out, and she said, don't you ever tease him again. And anyways, my friend was telling me that after that day, I guess even before that, at night, he and his brother slept in the same room. We had small houses, and so they slept in the same roll-out bed. And at night, his brother would get up in the middle of the night screaming and yelling, talking about that he was shot with a gun, and they talked about war and the Army. And anyways, it got to the point that they had to take the brother out of the room. He couldn't sleep at night with his younger brothers doing all that. And this went on, I guess, for months, that he went through this episode where all of a sudden he would wake up with these nightmares, and he would talk about things. He would tell the parents and say to him, what's the matter? What's the matter? And he'd talk about shot with a gun. And he would talk about, he said something, he'd call him Japanese, something like that. And he's 5 years old.
Wow.
He had never seen anything on television. They never had a TV. So it's not like he knew about the war or any of that stuff. His family was very tight on that stuff. They didn't like, I think his father was in the war, and I think that was part of the problem. We never knew that, but so he knew nothing, but he would talk to them about this. They went to the family had him go to some kind of a doctor or something, like a psychiatrist. Yeah. He basically found out that he's reliving something. And anyways, if you read up on reincarnation, one of the things about these military deaths, a lot of them are soldiers or military people who were in a war and died before their time. Generally, under the age of 21. And so anyways, he even had a different name. The name he called himself was different than that. So anyways, it came to light that apparently when these people do come back, and some of them do come back, their birthmarks tend to be where they died.
Wow.
Where they were shot. And that's what he kept doing. I'll never forget that day when he kept pointing to that and screaming. And I don't remember a lot anymore. But anyways, I asked his brother years later. I saw him, and I said, how's Bobby doing? He said, it went away. After we went through a rough time with him for about 6 months or so, and then it never came up again. He said, now he's very successful. He's graduated college, and didn't impair him after that. Right. But if you study about reincarnation, it's amazing the things that come up. But one of the things is that most people that come back usually have died in a violent way long before their time is due. So, and they also say that these young people that have these nightmares and memories, they fade usually by the time they're 7 or 8 years old, because at that time their brain is developed and they no longer have any, you might say, room in there for that. Right. But there's a lot more to the story, but I didn't want to go on. But that's the basic. Man, I think of it every now and again. Yeah. Well, just the whole idea of seeing a kid go crazy for such an odd reason, that in itself is kind of disturbing in a way, Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the book that was written?
I have a comment about parallel universes if we have time.
Yeah, sure.
What's the book that was written about a pilot?
Guido Sarducci on Saturday Night Live. Yes. Sure. Well, he was on one time, and he said that they had discovered this parallel universe. And he goes on this long litany of everything that's the same. And then he says, except for one thing. And he says, how we hold a corn on the cob horizontally to eat it? In this other parallel universe, they hold it vertically to eat it. And that's the only difference in this entire parallel universe.
Okay. Do we have a punchline?
That's a cursed
That was it.
That was it. Okay.
That was it.
What a pain that would be.
That's Father Guido Sarducci. The cool priest was his bid on Saturday Night Live.
He was so funny. He did a book where he had sent letters to people under the name of Laszlo Toth, and there were things like he got his bag of M&Ms, and one of them was kind of misshapen. So he wrote about how he got this deformed M&M and how he was so disappointed because of the purity of M&Ms. But people would write back. The companies would always take these things seriously. So he would print the letter that he got back. I mean, he would write politicians, companies, or whatever. And it's just hilarious to see his letter and then the response from whatever.
Now, let me just address the elephant in the room, because maybe Switchy doesn't know what graphic he's put behind him.
I love it. What do you mean the elephant in the room? It looks good.
But in your room, it might. But it looks like the Chippendale dances. Is that a favorite of yours, Switchy?
Well, no, it was. I meant to put it up earlier. I was trying to find the right image for Wan and this new endeavor he's thinking about.
Cameo.
Partaking.
Cameo, yeah.
But I'm not ripped like those guys.
Oh, man.
You're just as ripped, right?
Those guys
I know
are ripped.
you are.
Look at it.
Okay.
Don't be modest.
No, I'm not.
Yep, he is ripped.
I can show you right now, but I am not ripped.
Neither am I. It's okay.
Those little guys probably wouldn't be interested in you, Raven. They'd be interested in Warm. But
They would not be interested in me at all.
Well,
They'd be like,
know.
you're a garbage person.
No,
Next.
no. Take a look at him and think of the subtext is what I'm talking about.
I have since it was a
There we
disturbing
go.
image for some, I decided to change it.
Good.
There's a real Chippendale.
Thunder from Down Under. Thunder from Down Under. The Vegas one.
There you go. Hey, listen. So he changed it to 2 male chipmunks who have been living together for 40 years. Come on. Anyway.
I love chipmunks.
So, here's
You
another
have
story.
Bert and Ernie?
Bert and Ernie. Oh, I'll tell you, man. People have written books about Bert and Ernie. Jesus. So, we watched a Muppet
screaming.
special the other night, how they put the Muppets together. It's unbelievable. I never watched the Muppets, but man, oh man, what went on behind the scenes there?
Wait, the Muppets and those were the same thing? I thought the Muppets were different from Sesame Street.
No, what's Bert and Ernie, the Muppets,
Yeah,
right?
the Muppets, yeah.
Yeah, they sure are. Yep.
It's Sesame
Right, okay.
Street.
Sesame Street is the Muppets on. I don't know.
Wait, are they?
Yeah,
the-
public television.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I
Yeah,
thought
this-
they were different all this time. My life is a lie. God.
Well, they happened. The Muppets were on Sesame Street, but the Muppets were everywhere. They had
They
movies.
were.
They had their own TV show.
Yeah, yeah,
Miss-
yeah.
Miss Piggy.
They're big. I think Disney owns them now.
The two old guys in the theater ragging on everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
they were the
this-
best.
It's so life. I mean, there are people who are literally like that. So just getting back to this war, this angels and ghosts in wartime. I was reading this other story too in Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, on sale everywhere. One of the entries was I kind of forgot about writing it, to tell you the truth, but it was a story about we were looking for angels in wartime, and there's now this is in China before World War II started with Japan, but it's in the 30s, and Japan is at war with China, and they're doing like horrible things, they're like bombing undefended cities and the worst and war crimes and stuff. So anyway, this guy's a missionary, and he heard the story from this friend of his who was Japanese, that this commander of this bombing unit had just been executed in Tokyo, and the reason he was executed was he was leading a bunch of bombers to bomb this undefended Chinese town, and he says that he saw an angel appear out of the clouds that actually stopped his airplane in flight, and he tried to go around it. He's thinking this is some kind of a weather thing, headwinds, whatever. Tried to go around and tried to do all these different things, and he couldn't. And he said every time he looked in front of him, he saw an angel holding him back from bombing the city. As nutty as it sounds, he turns around, he goes back to his air base, and they execute him for disobeying orders. Now, the exact same day, this missionary got a letter from a friend of his who was Chinese, who saw the same thing but from the ground. He said, I have to tell you something. These Japanese planes come to bomb us, but what looked like an angel was in the sky and stopped them, and they turned around and stuff. And it's like, wow. To hear one story is kind of nutty, but to hear it from two different points of view, like the Coin helicopter incident, Switchy, right?
Right.
Where the people in the helicopter see the flying saucer, but, encounter the helicopter, but people on the ground actually see it too. It's almost like triangulating. Here's that word again. So stuff like that does happen,
Absolutely.
Matt, can I bring up an incident that we talked about a few months back, the miracle at Fatima?
Yes.
In Portugal with the apparitions of the Virgin Mary. And as you know, that happened back in 1917, which was in the middle of World War I. And I can recall from reading this, but during that period, those 6 months or whatever it was, that the Virgin Mary appeared to those children in Fatima, the Portuguese army was fighting in World War I. They fought mostly in Africa, and they weren't a very large contingent, but they were over there fighting. And so, anyways. They took significant losses during the war. They took like 7,000 or 8,000 deaths, and that's a lot for them in that time. Anyways, during that period that the apparitions were happening, they were in the middle of some pretty fierce battles. And included there was the uncle of one of the three people that saw the Virgin Mary. Mm-hmm. He was fighting in this battle along with the other members of his platoon. And they were getting wiped out. And all of a sudden, there was this bright light from the sky. And as he described it, it seemed very similar to what the children had encountered when they had their sessions with the Virgin Mary. And anyways, what happened was this bright light came up on the battlefield when they were being overrun in their foxholes, and all of a sudden they were guided out of there because they were in the process of retreat, but they really just got blindsided with they were captured, they were cornered. So anyways, they followed this light and it got them out of there, and they were all saved. But again, they see it as being an angel. They saw something really bright, and but the fact that it happened the same period when all that was going on in Fatima, right? And one of them was the father or the uncle of one of the kids. I found that really interesting. But and they didn't know at the time. The other important thing is they didn't know anything about what was going on in Fatima during those 6 months. Yeah, I bet. They were in a war, okay? Yep. And the families thought they were dead because the reports were coming back to the village that the village, the group that was there fighting, the platoon or the squad, they were all from that village. Yep. And reports were coming back that all of the soldiers involved in that were getting wiped out. And so they had assumed, the village people, that these 4 or 5 men were dead too. And they came back and they explained, but they knew nothing about what was going on. So, it's really fascinating, the stories like that. It really makes you think. Right. Yeah, the whole Fatima thing is interesting too, because I mean, if you take the religiosity out of it, if you take religion out of it, this is what happened. These 3 shepherd kids, in Portugal, really poor, 1916, 17, very much of a rural country, and also had a very authoritarian government, which was anti-Catholic. And but these 3 kids come home one day and they said, we saw this, apparition of the BVM, the Blessed Virgin Mary, in Catholicism, Christ's mother. And she talked to us and so on and so forth. And she said, I'll be back here at the exact same time, place in a month. So the kids go back with like 2 or 3 people, and the people don't see the apparition, but the kids do, and they know it because they fall to their knees immediately. Right. And they start having this conversation with this, basically this invisible person. And then the apparition says, I'll see you here next month, same time. And so like more people come. So anyway, this becomes a big controversy as more people find out about it. At one point, the government like locks the kids up, and it's crazy. But I think 9 months into this thing, so many people have heard it that now there's like 50,000 people in this field. Now this is documented. 50,000 people in this field, and what they saw the sun move. They saw a bright object in the sky, which they took to be the sun. That it was a rainy day, and it came so close to them that people's clothes were dried, from the heat. Now, what's crazy about it is that this isn't reported by just some religious nuts. This is reported by the newspapers at the time, which were government newspapers, anti-Catholic newspapers, yet they had eyewitness and true accounts of what they saw, and people could never figure out what it was. It was like this mass UFO / hallucination religious experience that happened to 50,000 people, man. That's a football stadium full of people who saw this thing. Just very creepy. It'd be cool to do a movie or something and take the religion out of it and really kind of look at what it might have been. And then one of the kids wrote a letter to the Pope, and he opened up the first 2 letters, some Pope in the 50s. And then he said, I'm not going to open up the 3rd letter, until I die or she dies or something like that. And so the 3rd letter was unopened for a long time. You've heard about this, I'm sure, right? So
So in the late 70s, there was actually a pope. Now, they had Pope Paul II, okay, and he was the groovy pope. Everyone knows he was like the celebrity. But there was also a pope, and he was only a pope for like 2 or 3 months, and that was Pope Paul I, okay? And the rumor is that he finally opened the letter, read it, and had a heart attack and died. And that's why, Pope Paul, so whatever it said in the letter, I don't think they've ever said it, but one of these kids, they became nuns, and the 2 girls became nuns, and they're religious forever. But,
let me just correct that. 2 of them died in the 1918 COVID pandemic. The 2 youngest, the boy and the girl.
Okay. Yep.
And at that time, before they died, the oldest member of the group, they were all cousins, was told by that apparition that they were going to die. She was told that her 2 cousins would be dead, and I don't know what it said, within a year or whatever. Wow. So she was told that. So yes, and she lived into her 90s.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 of them died.
She became a cloistered nun or something, right? Something along those lines. Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing was, I got to tell you, there was a movie that came out about a year ago, and I was all excited to see it. Started to watch it, and you know who played a starring role in it?
Oh,
Harvey Keitel.
Wow! Pick up a paycheck, really?
I just couldn't picture Harvey Keitel in that role.
He was the priest that he was the priest that was listening to the story by the nun. So it was always the flashback situation, and he was taking it all in, taking notes and everything. Yeah, it was kind of a weird role. Yeah.
Wow. When to buy that condo.
But to finish it off, I think you've all heard of Ingo Swann, and we talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
One of the chiefs of remote viewing. He wrote a book not long before he died, and in there he talked about the apparitions of Fatima.
Yes.
And he was a atheist. However, his conclusion, and he was a guy that did all kinds of research, his conclusion is that he believed it. And here's a person who was an atheist, a big scientist, who, of course, most of them are atheists. So that leads a little bit to it. I mean, someone of that credibility that, but anyways.
Did he say, what did he say happened? Basically what we think happened?
Yeah, I have the book somewhere, but I don't know where it is now, but if I ever find it. But yeah, he did a lot of research. He spent, I guess he spent a few years on it. He went over to Portugal a few times. He did all kinds of things. Yeah. I guess after he retired from that.
On each apparition club, remember, I've read part of it, and he goes into great detail in each one, the time period, and analyzed it. There's some really interesting ones. There's one that almost sounds like a landed craft, where they see the woman, the lady, inside a door, and she's crying, and it's like sort of it's not really an H-shaped craft, but they of course she's crying for the fate of the world and so forth. Right. But it's a really interesting book.
It's always that angle too, like Lourdes, the lady, there's one at Lourdes, France, right near where people, if you get water from Lourdes, I know that relatives who have got water from Lourdes and said that they swear that it helped them recover from some kind of ailment, which you hear a lot of, but the same thing with this apparition to these kids. It's the Blessed Virgin Mary, I think, or an angel, but it's always like, the world's going to go to war. You have to pray for peace and so on. It's always kind of like the same message. And there's another one too. It's a little more recent. It was in Medjugorje, Yugoslavia. Well, this is probably early 90s or so, before Yugoslavia, got destroyed in that war. But it was the same thing. These 3 kids would see this apparition every month at this little chapel, and they had at this point now you have video cameras and stuff watching it, and it's the same thing where you do not see who they're talking to, but I've seen film of this, and when it appears, the 3 kids immediately go to their knees. I mean, go to their knees, immediately, and it's kind of like, wow, you can't choreograph that. Something must be happening to these kids, and have some kind of a conversation and so on, and. So
Clubb is holding up a bottle of water from Lourdes.
I don't know. Really? I don't know if you can read backwards when I put it up to the camera.
Okay, let's see it. Put it up there again. What's it say?
It says it the right way. Lourdes water. Yeah.
Not that Lord.
For the Lord.
Lourdes water.
Yeah,
hey,
Lourdes water.
Don't mock that. That's for real.
Have a voice.
That's for real.
Who? Lourdes?
You were just singing like Lourdes, the singer, right?
No,
No, she's good. You don't like her?
No.
What does she sing that one song? We're doing something.
We could be royals. Yeah, we could be.
Yes, that's a good song. I'll sing that on the next musical X-Files.
Okay, well, stay in tune because she doesn't. Okay, next musical
X-Files. Hillbillies.
We can be.
I don't know.
We could be royals. We could be royals.
Yeah, I don't know the words, so
yeah.
I'm just going to make it up as I go.
One big hit. Okay, that's good. Hey, Juan, talk about making up as we go along. What's our time here, buddies? We probably should take a break.
We could, but I got a quick Our Lady of Guadalupe story. I got a handout here.
Okay.
All right, real quick. All right,
okay.
so I'm working as a technician, in the area, and a woman comes in who sings for the Boston Camerata, and they're ready to go out on a tour of Europe, and she says, "Oh, you got to help me out. My laptop is dead. It won't boot up. I've got all my music on here, all the not only the music itself, but all the song sheets, all the the song sheets for everybody." I said, "Oh, well, do you have a backup?" No, I don't have a backup for this thing. You got to be kidding me. And you're going out in a couple of days to Europe? Yeah. So I was working for PC Wizard at the time, Mac. You remember those guys. So,
oh, wow. Yeah, I know. Yeah, sure.
Working for PC Wizard. And she was from the Boston Camerata. I forget her name now, but she was like the main female singer. And she was the director of the whole Camerata. So I have this Our Lady of Guadalupe keychain, okay? And I'm kind of sort of joking with my coworker, Dan, that... well, Dan, what are you going to do? Well, it's I've already looked at it, and it's the motherboard's toast. It says it's got. Oh man! All right, so maybe the hard drive's okay. Whatever. Let's figure it out. So they were going to figure it out after lunch. In the meantime, the level of urgency was with them wasn't as elevated as it was for me because I really enjoyed the Boston Camerata, and I had my keychain, and I said, okay, let's do this. I'm going to put my Our Lady of Guadalupe keychain on this dead laptop, and we'll see what happens after lunch. I had to go off and do something else. So I took
after lunch.
I took Our Lady off my keychain, put it on the laptop, and then I went off and did another call, grabbed something to eat, came back, and just for laughs, I said, okay, let's flip it open, turn it on, and it booted up like there was no problem with it at all. No error things. Booted up like it was brand new. Windows. Everything came up. They scrambled for the nearest flash drive and copied all the stuff. And the thing was fine. The thing was fine. It was like they were looking at me like...
You charge a triple?
Yeah.
You charge a triple?
Yeah. What was her name?
You got to take it with you when you buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, really.
She remembers that all the time. On Azuma. On Azuma. I sometimes mistakenly called her Ani because that's how it looked like.
What's her name?
That was her name.
That's her name?
That's her name. She's still part of it.
Very exotic.
And every time
Anazuma.
Eileen and I went to their concerts, which were amazing, because they sang stuff from around the world. Okay, they interpreted all kinds of things. We had front row seats or seats behind, where the group may come off the stage and sit on the first bench, would be on the second bench, whatever. And they're usually in these churches. But we always got first dibs on front row seats everywhere we went because I amazingly bailed her out. When
because you had somebody watching over you.
There you go.
Somehow,
like, you know what? JJ needs a win.
It was so.
And I'm going to do it.
That's right. It was
a PC Wizard guardian angel.
If there weren't
you can't make
witnesses there, you wouldn't have believed the story.
I used to bring my computer over to those guys. Who was the guy who was he was the manager of the stripper there?
Dan.
Who was that? Bob.
That was Dan.
I don't remember their name.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And he done like some really nasty virus.
He was the manager at Max 2 in Billerica.
Yeah. It was like
actually his wife was the manager. He was the DJ. He programmed a lot of the music for the girls that were dancing. If they had a certain theme, a certain bit. And he's fixing
computers during the day.
Yeah, and he programmed all the music.
You could always give him.
I bet he has an OnlyFans.
You could always give him just $20 you know. He would just, fix something. He'd go,
that's right.
You hear all the time. And I say, here's $20. He goes, what for? And I says, hush money. Because he knew just exactly what to do, So, but anyway, I miss those guys because they were good, but they're gone now, right?
They're gone. Dan fell off the face of the earth. I was giving him work and stuff that I didn't want to do. And all of a sudden he disappeared. He's moved back to Lowell. And I said, okay, Lowell's convenient.
Come again after that.
I don't know what, I've been calling him and everything. I don't know what happened. But the Our Lady of Guadalupe thing was really an amazing feat of magic or faith or something right in front of these guys.
Well, but you also saved someone, who had their computer on a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Told them to take the Ouija board out and charge them $150 and it fixed itself. Right?
Yeah. Brand new PC and it wasn't operating for...
What?
It was doing crazy things all the time.
Oh my,
I show up at his house in Newburyport
no.
and he's got a Ouija board under his keyboard.
He does have that thing.
He was using his Ouija board like
what's it called? A telemancer, right? Where, stuff
a technomancer.
When it comes
technomancer. My girls say I'm a technomancer. Right. Yeah, but I got all kinds of.
Well, you get that last thing that's 600,000 miles. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back. We're doing an Angels and Ghosts and Wartime show here on Mack Maloney's Military X-Files, and why don't I say we'll be right back after this.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They are even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day, to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or is someone, or something, looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Go.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm sorry, because you're going to go.
Okay.
You don't want me to go on one. You want me to go on go.
Right. Let's go and go. Ready?
Okay.
5.
Yep.
4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Macaroni. Wow, what a show we've had for you tonight. Still got a half hour to go, but we're talking about Angels and Ghosts in Wartime. We've heard some pretty creepy stories so far. And let me just quickly speak about creepy. Let me introduce the members of the posse. Well, he's not really that creepy. Juan.
I hope not. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, especially the ladies.
I wouldn't call you creepy, but I'm unique.
Yeah. I am kind of dashing and debonair, though, don't you think?
Are you really?
And I'm always on my best behavior around the ladies too. All my customers are women. I only have one guy customer.
Who do you think you're talking to?
Only because he signs the checks. Okay, everybody else, they're all women that I deal with.
There you go.
All day.
Oh, okay. Another show there, brother. We've gone into this before.
I got to show you the birthday present that one of the girls, Zoe, who was the the scheduler at Link House for all the clinicians. She made up for me because I'm a movie fan. I'll show you the picture. I'll send you pictures because both of us are movie fans. We talk about movies all the time. And she likes Quentin, by the way.
We're on the air. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. You know we're on the air?
Yes.
Okay. No Coco tonight, ladies. Okay, filling in up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, a national correspondent. Switch played Steve Ward. Switchy.
It's great to be here tonight. Also
gets a lot of fan mail from the middle-aged ladies.
So like when you say middle-aged, give me a span of age.
Yeah, what is that age bracket? What is it? Middle-aged?
65 to 60. I don't know. You want me to head right back and ask them their ages?
Yeah, have them be more specific next time.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Include funny? Be respectful.
Everybody gets fan mail. I never get fan mail. Everyone else does.
You don't get any fan mail?
No.
You know why? You're like Barney Miller. You're the guy, the central guy that pulls everybody together. Barney Miller, he had all the character actors that had all the good lines. And Barney was the backbone. He was the foundation.
The unfunny one.
Everybody together.
What you're saying is he's the guy who wasn't funny, right?
Well, he was funny occasionally, but he let the other guys be funnier.
So you're saying I'm occasionally funny?
He was the stiff, that's all.
Oh.
I think everyone thinks that Mac probably gets so much fan mail that they're like, it's going to be cliche to write him. So I got to write the other ones so that they feel okay because Mac is probably getting so much.
I got to say, I get fan mail from the books, but I don't get fan mail from the radio show.
Really?
Well, you know, I had Jocko Johnson on my show, The High Strangers Factor,
we're going to have him on
Radio Network, and I asked him about cop shows. And he said the most realistic depiction of like the inside of a precinct was Barney Miller.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So old and dirty.
Yeah, I'll bet. We were going to bring him on tonight, but I suppose it's too late. Can anyone get a hold of him real quick? Bring him in hot?
No, it's too late.
He's ready.
I can try.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
All right. Okay.
Let's see what happens on the air.
Bring him on hot.
Buddy, boom. Well, he's waiting by the phone. He's got his sunglasses on, his hat.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy. We've been texting back and forth.
Yeah, Sandy, well, he hasn't been on Facebook for a while. Want me to call him?
Call him, yeah.
Let's see.
I made the mistake of telling him that I had a cold, and he was, having me call doctors in Houston.
Shut up. Oh, my God. That's the cutest thing ever.
Oh, he's something, man. He's connected off. He lives in a world other than ours.
That is
but
so
man.
sweet, though, because nobody's like that anymore, where they're like,
yes.
Like, hey, you don't feel good? I know this guy. Call him. He'll make.
Well, that's how it was. Yeah. And if you need some work on your back, you call my friend and say, Louis, Dr. Louis.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
I can't find his number.
Can't find his number.
No, I got it.
Okay. We'll call this episode Looking for Jocko.
Yeah, I didn't. I've got his number here somewhere, but I didn't. Wait a minute.
Okay, hold on, folks.
No.
False alarm.
I'm holding on.
No,
hey, JJ, you don't have it, Jay? You don't have it, Lonnie?
I might have it.
You talk to him all the time.
Here we go.
Wow. Be funny if he was asleep. Come on, call.
He's on the East Coast, right?
He's down in some
South Carolina.
Yeah, Goosebumps, South Carolina or something.
I'm going to North Carolina next month.
Really? Wow. Are they going to send a search party? Someone will be with you?
Yeah. I'm getting a ride because I cannot be trusted by myself. And I'm bringing rollerblades.
As a way to get home?
So, yep.
Okay. Well, I think I got it here.
Okay, let's see. Wannie's calling him.
Put it on speaker.
Okay.
Let's see.
I'm going to try this. I'm going to try
so
this.
Exciting.
This is crazy.
Ask him if you've seen a ghost or an angel. Well, he has a really creepy story about the woman that he met in the cemetery down in New York City. Did you ever hear that, Club? Did you ever hear that story?
You told that on my show. If you guys want to check it out.
Oh man. When you hear him tell it, and you know the kind of guy he is. I mean, he's not a guy who's going to be making up ghost stories.
He's had some pretty cool paranormal experiences.
Yeah.
I called both numbers, and it's going to voicemail.
Oh, he'll die. Anyway, okay. So listen, Switch. Why don't we pivot to you, as they say?
All right. Well, we're talking about angels tonight.
Yes.
Well, there's an interesting book called UFO Contact from Angels in Starships. It's by Giorgio Di Batanto, okay, from he lived in Rome. Now, the editor is Wendell C. Stevens. That's quite a name in UFO lore. Wendell's no longer with us, but he self-published all kinds of books, and most of them were geared toward contactees. He even kind of published the definitive book on George Adamski, who was the famous contactee that supposedly met Orthon in the desert in California in 1952.
Yes.
Now, this is more like 1980. And Giorgio, one time, he wakes up in his room to see this bright light, and he sees essentially a man with wings, and his feet are above the floor. And he says, I am Raphael, the angel Raphael. And he tells him that he needs to read the book of Tobias, which is one of the books from the Apocrypha. And it's the story of Tobit, which I don't know much about, but it's supposedly about how God tests the faithful so that he disappears. Now, as time goes on, he gets more contacts from Raphael, and sometimes they're just mental contacts. He said that he came to him from the light dimension when he saw him with wings and so forth. But the next time he sees him, he looks more just like a regular man. And of course, he's getting all this, that we are all brothers and that sort of a thing. So what happens is he's led to go, as so many contactees are, to a certain spot. So he goes to a remote area, well outside of Rome. And he sees Raphael in what looks like kind of a silver-colored spacesuit. And now there's two other men with him. And they're also wearing some kind of spacesuit, just a slightly darker color. And then they introduced themselves. And they said, these are the names that were given by their Earth brother, George Adamski. And George Adamski, now we know that the first book he wrote was with Desmond Leslie called Flying Saucers Have Landed. And that's where he supposedly, well, he doesn't supposedly, he talks about the alleged contact with Orthon in the desert. And it made him quite a celebrity. He spoke all over the world. His second book was called Inside the Spaceships. And supposedly in that book, he again gets the urge to go to a particular location. There's a clearing, and there's one of these Venusian scout ships that's just landed. And his old buddy Orthon, which he met in the desert, is there. But there's also two other ones, Furkan and Ramu. Well, these are the other two space people that are there. Supposedly, these are the three people that Giorgio has met that contacted George Adamski back in the 60s. So now, as the book goes on, there's several meetings. They eventually take a ride in a spaceship. They get into one of the huge cigar-shaped motherships, and in between all these visits, you get this. It got to be a little bit dry. This sort of cosmic space philosophy, and about how bad we are, and if we don't change our ways. And so Giorgio says, well, why don't you do stage something so the whole world can see it? Well, they can't do that because men's hearts are not in the right place, which sounds like a cop-out to me. So that's pretty much the way the book goes along. But it's interesting that two things. Ray Stanford, he and his brother knew George Adamski when they were kids. And they were just kind of starstruck because they were buying George Adamski's claims, hook, line, and sinker. Yes. But then George confided in them how he did it. He showed them how he faked some of his photographs. The classic Venusian spaceship is part of a lamp that came from Poland when the family immigrated. The classic cigar-shaped ship is actually just a two-dimensional thing on the wall. And the implication was the glowing, scout ships that you can't see very clearly. The implication was it was like radium, something radioactive that was glowing and affecting the film. So if that's true, if George was a charlatan, then Giorgio, I don't know if he was had some kind of an experience or whatever, or if he just made it all up. Now, Wendell Stevens, as you get toward the end of the book, he has a couple of postscripts, and one of them is where it seems like he gets is more inclined to believe George Adamski because of the crazy claims from Surreyton, England. Ellen Buck, or it might be Ellen Buckle, I'm not sure, wrote a book called The Sorryton Mystery. And that was where Arthur Bryant claimed, now this is just a few days, supposedly, after George Adamski dies, after he has this great career and he meets kings and queens across Europe. He dies, and then supposedly Arthur Bryant, who's a groundskeeper at a nursing home, sees a landed craft, and 3 individuals come out. One of them is kind of a young boy, and he calls himself Yamski, Yamski.
Okay.
And they're looking for Des Les.
Les. What the?
Desmond Leslie was the co-author of the first book with George Adamski. Okay.
Wow.
So the implication is that we're supposed to buy is that somehow George reincarnated into this young Venusian boy in a matter of days. Now, it's like, allegedly, Bryant didn't hear about the death of George Adamski, but he could have easily backdated the story to just a couple days after Adamski assumed room temperature. So the Sorryton Mystery is another really fascinating piece of history, I guess, because while some of it was certainly a hoax, he claimed that he got some airplane parts from these space people.
Okay.
It was part of the airplane that Mantell crashed in.
Oh, the P-51. Yeah, sure.
That chased the UFO, the famous case. Yep. According to George Adamski and others, that it was an accident. His plane got too close to one of their scout ships.
Yeah.
And the electromagnetic vibes got funky and messed with his plane. So it was just an accident.
Yeah.
But, so Bryant produces these airplane parts. Well, later on, there's another book, a kind of a pamphlet called Sequel to Sorryton. And some guy actually did some research and found out that Bryant had been to some kind of a what would you call it, a bazaar or junk sale or whatever, and bought some airplane parts, okay? There was somebody else that looked at these things and said, no, what did you say? It was a P-51?
Yeah, P-51, yeah.
Said did not come from one of those. So what we have here is, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen,
go ahead,
layer after layer of BS, And
yes.
It's too bad because there's a small part of me that would love some of the stories of the Space Brothers to actually be true.
But isn't it funny though? In the few minutes we have left, isn't it funny that that what people saw back in the 50s, from outer space was classically 50s? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
What they see in the 60s is what, it's kind of reflects the time, the era or something, It'd be cool. The Space Brothers, I mean, if they were true, that'd be excellent because they are like guardian angels from outer space looking over us.
Well, the crazy thing is that during this time in Sorryton, Eileen Buck and her other researchers, they were giving him, they were doing whatever they could to objectively assess the situation. Right. Bryant did seem like he was on the level, but all kinds of crazy things are going on. They were getting voices imprinted on reel-to-reel tapes where they go out looking for UFOs. So it in some cases, it seemed like there were real phenomena going on. There were some people that would see a light in the sky and believe they got some kind of a message. Yeah. So it's one of these crazy things where perhaps there was some legitimate paranormal phenomena going on in the midst of a lot of just absolute nonsense.
Hey, Raven.
Fakery.
Hey, Raven, earlier he said that the guy thought that he might have, he transformed into a young Venusian boy. Is that what you said?
Well, that's this young Venusian boy on the ship. Well, the implication was Adamski somehow reincarnated into this guy.
Okay, I just went on OnlyFans, and there's a fetish for that. So.
Of course there is. So every time you say the implication, the only thing I can think of is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they have the boat and it's the SS implication, because when you're out on the water, a girl isn't going to say no. And OnlyFans.
Why aren't I watching these shows?
Why are you watching them? Do you have poor taste like my father? Because he has
how
poor
dare
taste.
you?
Is that a W.C. Fields quote?
What is that?
W.C. Fields?
Yeah, is it? No,
it sounds like W.C. Fields. I don't know.
Didn't he say, I hate, on his gravestone it says, for better or worse, at least I'm not in Philadelphia or something like that. Yeah. There's a clip. I saw a clip of him on YouTube, just a clip, and there's a woman standing in the street and he goes up to her and he goes, yeah, hey, how you doing or whatever. And then her boyfriend comes along and punches him. And when he punches him, he goes right over a hedge, right? And then the camera goes on him, and he says something. I had to go back 3 or 4 times to understand what he said. And he said, "Get all 5 of them."
Oh my God!
Yeah, he was funny. How much time we have left there, Wani?
I have another short story with this time.
14 minutes. I was going to give you 2 minutes.
I got a short story too. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. This was told to me. I went to one a few years ago. I was at a Michigan MUFON meeting, and we the way it used to be set up was you'd have brunch, and then you'd get to sit and talk with people, and then you'd have the speaker. And sometimes the most fun is talking to people, and you'd hear about their experiences. So somehow this group of people I was with, we started talking about Men in Black. And this one elderly lady said to me, "Do you want to hear my Man in Black story?" And when somebody asks you if you want to hear their Men in Black story, you say yes.
You say yes, now, absolutely.
This lady, I won't give her name, but she was very sincere. She didn't. She sounded like she was telling the truth, even though this is a pretty wild story.
Go ahead.
So she's back in the 60s. She and her husband are in the Vegas area, and they've just gotten married.
Yes.
And they don't have much money, so they're hitchhiking. And this black car picks them up. They get inside, and there's 2 men dressed in black suits wearing black fedoras.
No.
And they take them on their way. One of the things she said to me in part of the story, she said, it was a funny thing. She said the dashboard was lit up with a lot of like dials and lights and everything. I thought, and that was unsolicited. There's a couple of Men in Black cases where people are in the cars and the dashboards are all lit up with crazy gadgets. Okay.
Yes.
So they take them on their way, and they get to where they want to get out. And one of the men turns around to them and says, "We think you should wait a little while longer before you leave." And then they both fell asleep. So some unknown amount of time later, they both wake up and they get out and they thank the men. Not at the time, they're not thinking about how crazy this whole thing is.
Yes.
Later on, when they reflect on it, they think, why didn't we question all this?
Yes.
So they go to a little motel because they don't have a lot of money to spend.
Okay.
And the gentleman behind the counter takes one look at them and says, "Oh my God, it's a good thing you didn't get here any earlier." And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" And it turns out there was a couple that had robbed a store not too long before they got there.
Yes.
This couple, they didn't look identical, but they were dressed similarly enough. They looked enough alike where they could have easily been picked up for them and mistaken for the people that robbed the store. But they had already been picked up and apprehended.
Wow.
So if they hadn't had this crazy experience, that this would have never happened.
They could have been. That's wild.
We've all heard stories of people, an individual or group of people that are in dire straits. A mysterious stranger shows up, helps them out of their difficulty. They turn around
and they're
gone. But Men in Black, sneaky, dastardly. Now, I did ask her if they had any strange features or whatever, and she said no. They looked normal. So, somebody that was concocting a story that knew Men in Black lore probably would have said, well, they had kind of a dark skin and Asian countenance. And acted, but
the suits are too big. The suits are too big.
I asked her if she was familiar with the writings of John Keel or Gray Barker or Nick Redfern, and she was didn't seem to be familiar with Men in Black lore. So I present that. She said it without any change in her story or any interruption, and it's a pretty damn cool story. Anyway.
You're right. As crazy as something like that sounds, all right. But what is really good is cases where the people are just like this woman. They haven't been. I hate to say the word polluted yet. They haven't been. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're virgin to this stuff. Okay.
Right.
And I've said this before on the show. There were 2 psychiatrists. One of them was John Mack. He was at Harvard, and then the other guy was Bud Hopkins, I think his name was.
Right.
And now this is going back. This is in the 80s or so. And what they did was they were academics, and they wanted to see what was up with the abduction phenomena. Okay, and they went about it in a scientific way, in a way, but they were doing completely separate studies. Okay, they were not cross-pollinating or anything. And the people who came and saw them and went under hypnosis had never been. They made sure that there was no cross-pollination. All right. And they would hear all these stories, and 90% of them were just kind of screwballs. I hate to say it, but there were 10% of them were like these really kind of compelling stories of like, you can't make this stuff up type stuff, right? And one of the things that in both groups they reported, and both Bud Hopkins and John Mack did not make this public, I think, until one of their wives made it public after one of them passed away. But anyway, in both groups, blind studies, people said that they were abducted by the gray aliens and they had tattoos. Now, that's a strange thing to me. People see gray aliens all the time, but to say they had tattoos on their arms. Now, if you have someone in Washington State who's talking about Hopkins in Seattle, and you have someone in Miami talking to John Mack, they don't know each other. They haven't read any of the UFO literature, nothing. And there was more than 2 or 3 examples. And they say they have tattoos. Something's going on there. You know what I mean? That's just too weird of a thing.
It's way too specific.
Specific, right? Exactly, yeah. and not expected. You know what I mean?
No, you would never expect that ever.
Well, it depends. What are the tattoos?
How do they
know? Did they match? Or?
No, a strange kind of. No, they were symbols. They weren't like they were symbols that were tattooed into their arm.
Oh, it didn't say like mom or something on it.
So they were like
Hell's Angels.
They were like sigils almost, so like wordings or
something,
some language that we don't understand. Okay, yeah, and that's why would you make that up?
It could have been their girlfriend's name or something.
Yeah. Oh Xenia 3. Hey, can I read a story real quick?
Sure. Sure, show, Mac.
From 5 minutes.
It's your show, Mac.
Mack Maloney. You can. Why don't I get fan mail?
Hashtag Mack Maloney's Military X-Files.
Mac.
Do the hashtag.
Like Mac.
And write him because,
Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe.
He needs a thing. A fan mail.
He's the man.
That's the word.
Mack's the man.
Okay.
Mack's the man.
Okay. I feel a lot better now. Here we go. Ready? Okay. Shortly before, we don't really read stuff ever on the air, right? Do we?
Not really.
Okay, let's try this. If everyone goes to sleep, we'll know it's not good. Shortly before 8 a.m. on June 13th, 1993, a bright red Formula One speed racer airplane appeared over John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California. A small plane with a huge engine, it made so much of a racket that it tripped the airport's noise monitoring systems in place because Wayne Airport, being close to many residences, boasted one of the strictest airport noise abatement programs in the country. As the midget racer began to fly various acrobatic maneuvers above the airport, enough people saw it to write down the ID number emblazoned on its fuselage. Then they watched as the plane, later confirmed as FAA registered N21X, slowly climbed and disappeared over the Pacific. Working with witnesses' information, airport officials sent a noise violation notice to the plane's owner, who just happened to be Deke Slayton, one of the NASA's original 7 regular astronauts and commander of the famous 1975 Apollo Soyuz space mission. What airport officials didn't know was that Slayton had passed away 5 hours before, dying at his house in Houston, 1,500 miles from Orange County, with his wife and daughter at his bedside. And his airplane was locked away in a hangar in Sparks, Nevada, whose owner later testified that it had not been flown or even taken from its hangar since Slayton gave it to him a few years before. No one has ever been able to explain the bizarre incident.
That is bizarre.
Ew.
That's strange.
That is real weird.
That's bizarre.
Deke Slayton. So
how does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, enough people saw it to write down the number.
Right.
So when they said it was a registration number, is that just something you can see on a plane?
Yeah, when you see the numbers on the side of a private plane, that's their registration number. No, it's like a license plate.
So how could you scam that and make believe that that's what you saw?
Right. And
those exact numbers. That's so bizarre.
When I was researching that, and I guess it wound up on the cutting room floor, but he had flown in and out of that airport before, so people kind of recognized the plane.
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird.
That's really crazy, man.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Stuff like that happened.
Almost like phone calls from the dead.
Phone calls from the dead are very weird. Yes, right.
Some of that just still creeps me out.
Yeah, yeah. People
Absolutely.
get phone calls from dead people, and they're very, it's about specific stuff that's happened and stuff, and it's like, how would you possibly know?
You call up and say, "How are the socks doing?"
Dodge the question about, well, where are you? What are you
Where
doing?
are you?
Oh, I'm fine. It's fine here.
Yeah.
Everything is 100% a-okay.
Yeah.
And one little girl said, "I'm Ruby. You remember me?" She'd been dead for 5 years.
Anything with kids.
Oh,
I know.
No.
I know.
Throw the whole kid out. No.
Get off the phone, kid. Get off the phone.
And they said I couldn't. They said I couldn't call, but here I am.
Wow, she found a payphone. She found.
If my niece called me and said
called
that,
collect,
I would
too.
hang up so fast. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Here she's a troublemaker in the afterlife too.
It's so creepy.
Hey, Wan, is the train coming into the station?
We got a minute left.
A minute left. Oh,
no,
my
a
goodness.
minute left,
Okay,
but we have 2 minutes to do the plugs.
Okay, all right. So let's do the plugs real quick.
Yeah, because technically we got 2 minutes left.
Okay. Homes for Our Troops. Homes for Our Troops is a military charity. What they do is that they get donations, and they will build homes for wounded veterans from the Afghan war or the Iraqi war.
Post 9/11
home
veterans.
Without limbs and so on and so forth. And they adapt these houses so, they're wider, the stairs are better and everything for someone who might be disabled walking around inside the house, right?
That's right.
And then they just give them the keys. No mortgage, nothing. Okay, they give them the house. These are our veterans, our heroes. They deserve it. Homes for Our Troops. Just Google them. Homes for Our Troops. 88 cents on every dollar goes to the charity, and that is very, very high these days. Homes for Our Troops. Just Google them. Send them a few bucks. Also, our good friend Ross Sharp and his Mad Englishman friends are putting back together a warplane from World War II called the Mosquito. It was made of all wood because the British were running out of steel in 1943. So they built a warplane of wood, and then they put 2 Rolls-Royce engines on it. And what happens? It's the fastest thing in the war for about 2 years. They were so fast, some of them they didn't put guns on because, why?
Because the Mosquito could outrun the bullets from behind, from any direction. It's amazing.
So they're putting back together this airplane, Ross and his friends. It's called the People's Mosquito Project. Okay, Google them as well. People's Mosquito Project. And they're going to be flying it, I think, next year.
It's getting closer
they
and
went
closer.
all over the world to get the parts. I think it's next year. And Wan has volunteered to be the first civilian to go up for one of their flights. They're going to be, offering flights, pay to go fly with them, which is going to be cool. But you volunteered to take one of the first flights, correct?
That's
without
right.
a parachute?
The maiden voyage without a parachute, just my scarf.
Wow.
Just my Snoopy,
Well,
scarf and my goggles.
Yeah. Bring the Lady of Guadalupe with you, okay?
Bring that.
That's right.
And you don't have to go.
And my holy water.
Lady, bring her.
You don't have to go through customs.
There you go. Yeah, bring the whole lady. You don't have to go through customs. You don't have to take your belt off. You're good.
You're good. That's funny. Okay, wow. Okay, so those are the plugs. Next week, there's still a chance for you to email us or go to mackmaloney.com, push the contact button, and send us an email, just your email address, to get into the Magic Fishbowl. And we're going to be picking out the winners, plural, for the part 2 of the World War II trivia contest that we played a few weeks ago. We're going to be picking the winners from the Magic Fishbowl next week. So you still get time to get your entry in. Just go to mackmaloney.com, hit contact, and send us your email address. And I suppose if they're going to write me a fan letter, that would be the time and place, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, how
Put
easy?
your name in the thing. Do the thing. Be friends with us.
But they hit the contact, but the fan mails are always about you, Wan or something.
I'm saying they probably think that you get so much fan mail. They're like,
They don't want to bother
Good
me.
point, Raven.
He's
That's a good point.
he's the head of the show.
Right.
He's got
He's
the
too-
books.
too busy.
He's got the looks. They're like,
Got the looks.
He doesn't
Got the
need
look,
any more
yeah.
fan mail like
And he
Juan
probably gets
and
so
everyone
embarrassed.
else.
Don't you think he gets
Yeah.
so embarrassed by all that fan mail? That's what they think.
Exactly.
They just think,
Exactly.
oh,
That's
you
what's
know.
going through their head. They're like, you know what? We got to give
Mac-
these
Doesn't
losers
Doesn't
here.
Mac
some-
look like?
We got to
Mac
throw
is
him a
too
bone.
cool.
Doesn't Mac look like Michael Connolly on?
Too cool for school.
She lost me at books. Okay, so anyway, we were talking about the Magic Fishbowl. Hopefully it doesn't get hacked by the Russians again. Go to mackmaloney.com and hit the contact button, they say. Just send us your email address. We'll put you into the fishbowl. next week we'll be picking out 3 winners. The first prize winner is going to win this. It's Risk in Europe. This is courtesy of our good friend Phil O'Baines, who runs the country. Well, he might run the country, but he runs the company that makes like Risk and Monopoly and Rubik's Cube and everything called Winning Moves, all the games that you grew up with. And he's the first prize is going to be Risk in Europe, which I guess it's a limited edition. It's very cool. And then the runners-up 2 and 3 are going to get the new edition of Clue. Now, I don't think I ever played Clue. Is that where Mr. Mustard hit him with the hammer and the fire?
Yeah. Miss Scarlet cut off his manhood with a bazooka.
Well,
Yeah, you
that is
got
the updated version.
I might have
Miss Edna in the kitchen with the scissors.
Oh, with the scissors. That's nasty.
Never watched the movie with Tim Curry?
Movie?
Oh my God.
Bill Murray's in it?
No, Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
That's an older one, right?
It's so good. You've got to watch it.
We can do a show. Let's do a show where I will prove to you that Bill Murray isn't funny.
I'm Tim
We're talking about Tim Curry. Tim
Open
Curry.
your ear.
Oh, that guy? Oh, the guy from?
Reviewer Picture Show.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the best.
With a sock full of manure in the Exodus studio.
Yeah, first time I saw that, I sat in the second row. Okay, what a gag.
Did they throw condoms at you?
No,
That's what they did when I
of
went to see it. They threw condoms at me.
Oh, no.
Just you?
Not everyone.
Oh,
That
everyone.
was-
Okay.
I always thought that was how it was.
They were unwrapped, I hope.
No, later on they would
Yep,
give
they
raincoats
sure
to
were.
the people in the first 2 or 3 rows.
You're right.
Back then.
Back then, when did I see it? In the early aughts, when I
Tim
was
Curry,
just a wee kid.
Huh. So
The early
that
aughts.
wasn't Tim Curry. Why does he have a connection with the New York Dolls? Did he wasn't in the New York Dolls, was he? Tim Curry?
He was in Home Alone.
I'm thinking of David Johansen.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Anyway.
He was an actor, too. David Johansen was a
Switchy
pretty
has
good
the
actor.
train wreck graphic up, so that means we have to go.
Okay,
Let's
we
say
gotta wrap
goodbye
it.
first to the club. Club, thank you for joining us tonight, as always.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun tonight. Again, very educational.
Yes, right. Okay.
I saw you taking notes, as a matter of fact.
I've taken notes. My notebook is full, Professor. I love the color of your Yeti, man.
I do, too. It's the blue
Mine
Yeti.
is kind of black.
Excuse me?
Oh. Okay, wow. I'll do a material at the end of the show. Okay. Anyway, I like your blue Yeti. Take it as any way you want. Switchy.
Yes.
Your hair behaved well tonight.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And by the way, Club is right. This was a good show tonight. There's a lot of good information. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
A lot of entertainment. For
A
your
lot of
knowledge.
entertainment.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah. And it's too bad we couldn't get Jocko on. If you want
Well,
something.
you know
I know.
what?
I called both his
He'd love
numbers.
to come back.
Say what? Sorry.
He would love to come back.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yes, he writes to me frequently.
And me
I just
too.
say clear it with switch.
It's clear. Bring him back.
It's clear.
Bring him back.
Raven, it's time to say goodbye. Raven.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want it
thank
to
you.
end.
I know. I never want it to end. I had such a good time, and I agree with Club and Switchy. I always take my notes.
Go ahead. Oh, yes.
She does.
Oh, you probably, it's all whited out, but
That's okay.
I always take my notes.
You can use them again next
and
week.
I
All
can
right.
use them next week. I always learn so much, and I love hanging out with you guys. You're like
Wow.
my cool.
We love it
older
when you hang out
brothers,
with
like
us,
I
too.
said.
Older
Love
brothers.
it.
Why do we have the older brothers? Can't we just be brothers? Why do we have to be older
My
brothers?
younger brothers. I'm 90 actually,
Well,
and I'm
This is
I'm
her,
a
this is her
crypt
third
keeper.
life she's working on.
You're doing a hell of a job, I'll tell you that. Now, listen. All right, let's say goodbye now. Okay. Thank
right.
you.
Au revoir.
We say goodbye to everybody, right? Coco's out there defending our country. 1-1. Thank you again for
You bet.
joining us and for
I live for
driving
this.
the train,
High in
which is now
cocaine.
all crashed
No.
up. Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll talk to you soon. And thank you for everyone out there listening to us. We just passed 60,000 downloads, podcast downloads. Can you
Unbelievable.
imagine that? Because the weird thing is that we just passed 50,000. I had to write to them and say, when was it? It was only 2.5 months ago that we hit 50,000.
April. Yeah.
Yeah, April. Yeah. And yeah. So anyway, so thanks for listening to us. Thanks for, downloading the podcast. And until you hear us next week, this is Mac for the entire gang saying be safe, be happy, and
Bye-bye.